And now I turn to the third speaker, panelist on the panel, Mr. Tenzin Dorjee. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Chairperson. I'm really excited to be here at this conference today because I've been a minority my whole life, actually. I grew up first as a Tibetan refugee in India. Then after high school, I was a college student in Delhi, where I didn't look anything like the other students. And finally, as an adult, I became an immigrant in America. So I've moved around a lot. So I know from personal experience that minorities don't ask for much. They usually want to be left alone so they can go to work and come home each day. And once their material needs are met, they try to keep some aspect of their culture alive in their home. These are simple needs. They don't strain the resources of any state, nor do they threaten the stability of society. To the contrary, minorities contribute so much to society, and in fact, to humanity at large. You would agree, most of the good food in the world comes from minorities. Especially in places like England or America or perhaps Geneva, minority cuisines save millions of people every day from continental food. Most of the good roads are built by minorities. The western portion of America's transcontinental railroad in the 19th century, for example, was built by Chinese laborers. The high altitude roads in the Indian Himalayas were built by Tibetan refugees after 1959. More importantly, many of the scientific innovations come from minorities. Try imagining Silicon Valley without Indian Americans. You can't. But the most important contribution by minorities is not food, it's not roads, it's not even science and technology. It's the minority perspective. Minorities offer a new way to see the world, a window as well as a mirror through which a society can simultaneously see the world and see itself. I live in New York, a city made up of minorities. And we just elected Zohran Mamdani, the first Muslim mayor of a major American city. But I'm not going to quote him. I want to quote his father, Mahmoud Mamdani, who is a renowned scholar at Columbia University. He said that the minority is uniquely positioned to see the true nature of society, all of its flaws and all of its promises. That is the superpower of the minority, to be able to see society in its most naked form, and therefore to give us our most accurate diagnosis. So the lesson is obvious. All societies should embrace minorities and states should empower them. Sadly, a growing number of states today are doing the opposite. From Europe to America to Africa, we're seeing a rise in exclusive nationalism and internal colonialism, where powerful but insecure states are disempowering and disenfranchising minorities. One place where minorities have been most persecuted is the People's Republic of China. Since 2012, Beijing has adopted a range of hardline policies that seek to achieve the wholesale conversion and forced assimilation of Tibetan, Uyghur, and Mongolian peoples into the Han ethnic group. All because the government believes that the only path to political stability is through cultural uniformity and ethnic homogeneity. That in order to ensure national stability, minority ethnic identities must disappear. In Xinjiang, Beijing has rounded up more than 1 million Uyghurs into detention camps. It breaks my heart whenever I see my Uyghur friends because every single one of them has at least one family member in the camps. In Inner Mongolia, Beijing...
Sorry. Yes, the distinguished representative of China, you asked for the floor. You have the floor, please.
Madam President, this guest, this speaker, make bad use of this platform to make groundless statement against China's sovereignty and territorial integrity. This violates the UN Charter and the rule of procedure of the meeting, China requests the president to stop immediately the statement of the speaker.
After listening very carefully to the statement by the Chinese distinguished representative, I would kindly request the Sorry, Iran, you asked for the floor. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I sincerely thank your very nice and professional chairwomanship for the meeting and your repeated reminders to the NGOs and even the panelists for respecting the territorial integrity and sovereignty of the states. I take the floor to support the point of order from distinguished representative of China and to share our concern about the content of the speech from the panelists beside the NGOs. Thank you very much.
Thank you, distinguished representative of Iran. Are there any other member states requesting for the floor? If none, I would remind, as you mentioned, Madam, and I have been doing this for the last almost 2 days, that speakers and panelists are requested to uphold the UN standards and terminology when referring to countries and use each country's proper UN names and refrain from derogatory or outside the framework of the UN language. With that, I give you back the floor.
In Inner Mongolia, Beijing has banned the use of Mongolian language in schools as well as public and social life. Thanks to this policy of cultural and linguistic erasure, about 30% of Mongolians in PRC can no longer speak their mother tongue. In Tibet, including TAR plus Khmer Namdo, Beijing is using the classic colonial tool of residential schooling to strip children of their language, culture, and identity. The government has placed 3 out of every 4 Tibetan students in colonial boarding schools where 800 to 900,000 Tibetan kids aged 6 to 18.
The distinguished representative of China, you asked for the floor. You have the floor, please.
Madam Chair, this speaker has mentioned the boarding school in Tibet in China as a colonialism tool. This is a blatant tarnish of China, and this is a great damage to the image of China. This is a severe intervention into the sovereignty and territorial of China, and this is a serious violation of the UN Charter. China requests one more time to stop the statement of the speaker.
Any other comments? Based on what we just heard, and in light of the rules and procedures, I call upon the panelists and the participants as well to respect UN core values and principles and uphold UN standards when referring to countries and territories. And please do refrain from any language in contradiction with this. With that, I give you back the floor.
Thank you, Chairperson. 3 out of every 4 Tibetan students in colonial boarding schools, 800 to 900,000 Tibetan kids aged 6 to 18 are methodically being turned into Chinese. If this is news to you, I invite you to look up a report titled "Separated from Their Families, Hidden from the World, China's Vast System of Colonial Boarding Schools Inside Tibet." Sometimes states attack minorities because they view multiculturalism as a problem. But here's the thing about multiculturalism. If your society is multicultural because of immigration, you are actually lucky, because immigrants contribute so much to society and demand so little. They're often willing to assimilate if that helps them succeed in other domains of life. But if your society is multicultural because you invaded or displaced some other nations in the past, then you have a much greater moral and legal obligation to provide them cultural autonomy and linguistic accommodation. These peoples have the right to self-determination under international law. Some argue that ethnic diversity leads to collective action problems, hampering the creation of an overarching civic identity. Others disagree, but here is what we know for sure. A hardline top-down approach to creating unity never works. It backfires. We know that states worry about secessionism. We also know from countless studies that it is not diversity, but the forced imposition of cultural homogeneity that triggers secessionism. It is not the fulfillment of self-determination, but the denial of self-determination that paves the way to secessionism, radicalization, even terrorism. So every state should remember this. If you have one terrorist in your country, you have a problem. If you have 1 million terrorists in your country, then perhaps you are the problem. In conclusion, I recommend.
Sorry, no applause in the room. No applause in the room. You're going to waste time and lose time from our list of speakers. So I strongly encourage you to refrain from any action outside the decorum of the General Assembly and the Human Rights Council. With that, I give you back the floor, please.
Thank you. And how much time do I have left? 15 seconds. 15 seconds. I recommend states should allow national minorities to exercise the right to maintain and develop their own languages and cultural practices. The PRC should close its colonial residential schools and reopen local schools so that children are not separated from their families.
Thank you, Mr. Panelist, for your intervention.